Action. G'day my friends and welcome to the Marty's Garden Show. Today we are talking about a permaculture method called chop and drop, which really is another way to recycle on your farm, on your homestead, around the home to grow amazing plants and to feed the soil. And today we have a special guest from Inya Yard Homestead, and his name is Josh. G'day Josh, how you going, mate?
G'day, yeah, I'm going well, thanks. I'm Josh from Inya Yard Homestead. So,
Welcome
and
to
it's great to be on here.
Welcome to the show. Good to see you, mate. There we go. We've got you on the right. We've got you on the right, left side, right side, wherever we're looking at. Because I'm looking always at the opposite side here as we run these records. Still practicing behind the scenes to get them right, but I think we're looking pretty good there, mate. Love the Aussie flag behind you. Cool hat.
Cool.
And you're looking very homesteadish, I must say.
Yeah, this is part of the uniform.
Yeah, I had Michael on from O'Donnell's Aussie Homestead before, and he's going, if I wear the headphones, I can't have the hat. And I'm like, well, we'll see. You might have to ditch the hat maybe at some stage to get the sound right. But we're coming through pretty good. I can't hear too much reverb and stuff like that. And we're just going to get straight into about you moved house recently. You've had to build a whole new garden, and which means you've got to build all these new soils and get started again. And I know that's a bit of a mission. You've got an open plate though to get started. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about the way that you're using the chop and drop method to replenish the soils and to use that stuff on site. So I've got a question list here if everyone's seems looking off to the side. Could you explain what chop and drop actually is to our viewers here, please, mate?
Yeah, that's easy. So you grow certain plants that you can cut down and use as a green mulch directly onto the garden. Like legumes are really great. There's even any of your dead vegetable matter that comes off old still beet leaves. You can chop and drop that, and things like that are great to add to the soil directly. So it's very good method to use. There's also plants that you can use that will help keep away the bugs in the chop and drop process as well.
Okay, cool. Could you explain, like maybe in a step 1, 2, 3 of how you actually do it? Like say for example a certain plant that you're coming along. So what's the steps?
Okay, so for example, like if you were growing, so there's one method you can do as if you're starting the garden. You can use a till sort of crop that you can turn in, or you can just cut down and leave on top, then plant into. But the main method I'll be using will be using shrubs such as acacias and licinia and other legume shrubs like desmanthus and even moringa. You can just grow them around and grow all your other plants that need some shade underneath, and then you can cut that directly off that plant and put it around the plants underneath and build the soil that way. So it's just layering up and adding a good mulch to the soil, and it slowly breaks down over time.
Yeah, so what we're doing is how I do it is basically, so for example, on my small space, if I'm growing a tomato, the tomato's finished, I actually just chop it off at the base. I don't pull that root system out of the ground. I actually compost that because it doesn't really work for a chop and drop system for me for that. But in some areas, you may just, if you don't have disease and stuff on that plant, or fungal problems, you could actually just cut it off at the bottom and just let it, and once you've got the fruit off it, just let it sit where it is and it rots back into the ground. So that's basically what we're talking about. So are you using legumes for chop and drop as well?
Yes, I will be. I'll be using mostly to start with because there's wild acacias out in the bush here, which is a type of wattle tree. and they are a legume. And so I'll be able to directly harvest some of that and bring it back to the homestead and use that for mulch and the chop and drop system.
Yeah,
But I will
cool.
be growing stuff like I've got seed. Oh, here we go. See if I can get this right. There we go. Seeds like legume shrubs, which is I can't work this camera out.
Hang on,
That's a
I'll
demand.
put you on solo, and you can show everyone.
Okay. Oh, there we go. That's easier. So that's Desmanthus. So it's a legume shrub, which is very. It's also universal. Sorry. So you can use it as a windbreak plus a chop and drop crop as well. And it's a great nitrogen fixer. It grows up to about 2 meters in length, like height. And it's also great for stock feed for your animals as well, because it's got like a 22% protein, so it's got a nice high protein for your animals to feed on.
Wonderful.
Also, Licinia, that's a very
Let's get you back here.
now which way do I got it? Yeah, there we go. Cool, thank you. That's another popular legume tree. A lot of people have that. It can get out of control in the tropical areas because it will self-seed. But if you've got chickens and that, you can bring them through and they will love eating off the seedlings and stuff that come up anyway. It's another good fodder bush.
Is that the
But
last
it's
one?
also another great. Yes, yeah, that's
Okay,
the
I'll
last
put you
one.
back. I'll
Yeah.
go back on the right side there, just so everyone can see quite easily. So
Yeah.
what we're talking about here, and this is a bit different to what we spoke about in the conversation on the phone. It's really great. So we take it a little bit further. So you can create a living fence that's edible. Animals can eat off it, and
Yes.
then you can come along at the end, and sort of basically cut it off at the base, let it sit and rot back into that system, or you can take it away and compost it, or take it away and maybe feed it to animals. So that's a really great tip, guys. I know people do that with alfalfa too, I believe, because everyone eats it as a sprout, but I think it grows as a living fence as well.
That's
Never done it, but I heard.
There we go. That
Got
one
it.
there, that's the alfalfa.
Wonderful. So there's lots of different ways. For people that don't really know about legumes, can you just explain a bit more about what a legume is?
Yeah, legumes are a nitrogen fixing plant. So they've got on the root systems, they draw nitrogen from the atmosphere and from the soil, and they store it within the roots. There's root nodules, and that travels right up through the plant. So when you harvest that nitrogen's locked in that what you've harvested, and it goes back into the soil and feeds the soil and then feeds the plants.
Yeah, wonderful. Great description. I know with some plants that some legumes, I think you have to chop and drop before it goes into sort of fruits up, because it'll reuse that nitrogen again sort of in the nodules. So that's why they sort of, like with certain types of beans and things like that, they plow them back in before they
Yes.
actually produce any type of bean or whatever. But, I find that myself personally, like with peas, I do a sort of semi-chop and drop method, but I just basically just leave the roots in the ground for the worms to come along and eat, and then I compost the plant. But I just take all the food off it. But all that root mass that's still there still becomes something that feeds the soil, right? So it's a great way to feed the soil, chop and drop, really, isn't it? Even if you're not dropping it, but you're still leaving those roots in the ground.
Yes, definitely. And the roots in the ground too, like it helps with if you like here, we have lots of strong winds. So the roots will hold the soil there, and anything that you lay down on top helps stop wind erosion, which is a big problem in this area. Some of the big farms, they mismanage and everything blows away and the soil's dead really. Like there's nothing there.
Yeah, that's a great point, because an example would be when you say if you've got barren soils and you're rebuilding your soil, could be a little bit hydrophobic, might be a lot of sort of like good organic matter in it. So we're building up the organic matter through the profile naturally like a forest. But by creating those layers that are falling on top of each other and sort of creating this blocky structure and a bit of airflow and things going through, we're doing exactly that, what you're saying, aren't we? So the wind can't whoosh through it.
Yes.
It's cutting the wind back, stopping the rain from hitting hard and compacting it and washing that soil away. So it's really following just, like sort of God's principle of creation, of how things fall down in nature, and sort of like playing with it less and just following that model, right?
Definitely, that's right. It's just trying to, follow along, what God's created, definitely. And that system works.
Unreal. So what's your plan in your big space? Because you've moved from this other garden, you plant a lot in in rows a lot. So what's your plan for the future for your garden? How do you plan to rebuild the soils?
Yeah, so this year I started with just doing those rows, and I'll continue using rows, but I will build up the soil because it's easier to manage with the reticulation system that I have, the drip lines, because it's such a dry, arid area.
Yeah.
So I managed to get by using like a fertilizer that's a grow safe, it's called, and it's all the microbes and the minerals that you need. So that helped get me by. But yeah, I did have a lot of problems. So that's why I want to start doing the chop and drop and adding more manure and compost. I've got to get some compost bins set up. I've only got one normal sort of compost bin at the moment. So I've got to get some bigger style things set up just so I can build up, and the more organic matter that you can put into the soil, the better.
Yeah, awesome.
And deep mulching.
Deep mulching. So will you introduce worm farming into that a bit later when you get sort of set up, do you think?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely we'll be introducing worm farms, probably on a large scale. I'll start off small, obviously, and build up to a larger scale. So the more I can use, the better.
Yeah, unreal. Michael, we just did a live show. He come on as a guest, and he's using rabbit manure to as food for his worm farms. And you've got guinea pigs, I know that. So that could be a good way to go to produce a liquid fertilizer to get out on your plants and build the microbes up.
Yes, guinea pig manure is really great for the garden. You can use it as the pellets, as a slow release fertilizer, or make a manure tea and water your plants that way. Yeah, they grow really well.
Wonderful. So you can, if you don't, before you start worm farming, you can actually, but you're using that guinea pig manure now. How many guinea pigs you got?
I think I've got about a dozen. I did lose some in the heat, unfortunately, but that's, I'm just tweaking out what I can do to help keep them going. So they're in the shade at the moment and got plenty of good shade.
Wonderful. So just a quick question before we move into sort of down the line to just let us know a little bit more about you and your channel. So what would be sort of like 3 tips for someone that's just starting out using the chop and drop method? Can you supply 3 quick tips maybe for a beginner?
Yeah, for beginning, start with something simple like, bean and pea crops. That's a good simple crop to start with. You can cut that off at the ground and just layer it down. Broad beans are great for using. And then you can start moving into something like your pigeon peas, which is a great legume bush as well. And also you can use the peas for food. And they're great. That'd probably be your first sort of step for chop and drop because they get a bit bigger. And then you can move on to your larger stuff like your Desmanthus and Licinia and all that sort of stuff. And then bigger trees again like acacias and moringa and stuff like that. So you start small and work your way up.
Yeah, cool. So start small, work your way up. That's highly recommended for sure. Sorry, I just had a phone call then, so I was moving the phone away from the speaker while we go. Sort of like this semi-live recording thing. Don't want to turn the phone off. I'm in a bit of trouble at the moment with someone, so I've got to sort that out. So as we spoke about before, we're having a bit of a giggle about it. But, yeah, all good here, really, at Marty's Garden. It's really exciting getting people on, like Josh from Inya Yard Homestead, on this channel. And, mate, before we head off, please explain to us what people will get from visiting your channel and what they'll learn.
Yeah, well, on my channel it's mostly to do with homesteading. So the gardening is my main part of my content, but I am going into a bit of prepping style sort of thing, and a bit more preserving what I grow, so, which is part of the homesteading, and a little bit more into some bushcrafting stuff as well later on as well.
Wow, mixed in with the gardening, right? So we're still doing the gardening as well.
Yeah, all mixed. But yeah, the main content is the gardening.
Okay.
So showing you how to garden and grow your own food, and to grow your own seeds from the garden, so you can save a lot of money, and because seeds can be quite expensive. Last season, I spent $1,000 just building up my seed collection.
Wow!
But now I'm right. I never have to buy another seed in my life, so it's great.
Unreal. Well, that's really inspiring. Definitely really inspiring. Unfortunately, we can't send seeds over from WA to New South Wales and vice versa. But so yeah, I wish you all the best with that. I know you're going to be selling some seeds. So if anyone's over in WA and they want to get sort of like non-hybrid seeds from Josh, I'm pretty sure they can contact you through your channel. They can find your email in the about section, and email you through that way. That would be the best way to get him than leaving a comment, because sometimes comments go missing and things like that. So listen, mate, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this knowledge. We're going to hopefully have you back and keep sharing the ongoing story about your homestead and this garden as you're developing and building these soils, and going from there. It's just been a really great interview, and thanks again for taking the time to come on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me on. That's great.
All right, so I'll see you later, brother, and we'll see you at the next show real soon. And remember, you got lives Friday night, Sydney time, something.
Yes, that's true. Sydney time would be 8 o'clock.
Cool. Yep. Cool. Okay. All right. Thanks again, man. Love you, brother, and we'll speak again on the phone and go from there. Have a great day.
Thanks, mate. God bless you.
God bless you too, mate. All right, so there you go. Josh from Inya Yard Homestead coming on, talking about the chop and drop method. He's still there in the background. I'll get it. Just had to click the little bye-bye button there. And yeah, it's been great. And we're learning about chop and drop grow methods and permaculture methods and seed raising and all amazing stuff from his channel. Pop over there. I'll leave a link down below. Say g'day. Subscribe if you're digging it. And we'll see you at the next video /vlog /interview real soon. Have a great day. Happy gardening. Bye for now.